Welcome to another mentoring moment with Dr. Mo. I'm Dr. Mo, and in this mentoring moment, we will elevate and enhance your tapping practice by taking a deep dive into specific events and how to find them. The thing that makes clinical EFT very, very different from general tapping is that clinical EFT gets to specific events. And this idea of specificity versus generality has been taught in EFT through the tried and true metaphor of tabletops and table legs. Tabletops are defined as being these large issues, themes, or patterns in your client's life. And table legs are defined as representing specific events or experiences or memories that either created, support, or in some way are associated with that larger tabletop or general issue. So another metaphor I would like to offer you that may help deepen your understanding of this interplay between specificity and generality is that of photo albums versus individual photos. So you can think of general issues as being these photo albums and the photos within that photo album as being specific events or memories. So that being said, it can be very, very tempting to tap on large photo album issues right at the outset because your clients will likely be presenting with these large issues or patterns or themes that they're coming to you for help on breaking them down into more digestible pieces. So it can be very, very tempting, as I mentioned, to just jump in and tap on, even though I have all this anxiety, even though I feel anxiety every single day and I've felt it since I was 3, I accept myself anyway. Or even though I'm so angry, I'm angry at the world, I accept myself anyway. So these emotions are very general tabletops and they represent these general themes or patterns in your client's life, but they're not specific. And in order to really get to the root of the issue, you have to get specific. As clinical EFT practitioners, you are on the hunt for these specific events that either created or continue to perpetuate certain belief systems within your client's life. Because ultimately, the beliefs that we have about ourselves, that your clients have about themselves and about the world, they come from specific experiences or events that they have endured. So in order to make lasting change in your client's life and lasting change on a neurological level, you really have to do your due diligence and really seek to find those specific events that are supporting and filling that photo album or supporting that tabletop. So in order to be considered a specific event, it of course must fulfill certain criteria, but thankfully there's only 2. So the first criteria that must be fulfilled is that if you can freeze that moment in time that your client is describing and take a metaphorical snapshot of it, if you can take a Polaroid of it, then it is considered a specific event. So in that same vein, if you can fill in the sentence, that one time when blah, 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 if you can really fill it in and that makes sense, then you have stumbled upon a specific event. So keep these 2 criteria in mind as we move forward, okay? And we will be discussing this further. But one tip that I'd like to offer you is one way to make sure that you're tapping on specific events is to really listen to the language in which your client is describing their issue in. So if they're using words such as always or constantly, every single time, all the time, every time, would always, would never, keeps happening, things like this, with this type of language, it represents repetition. It represents the fact that this is not just a one-time experience, it has been chronically happening or happening a lot over time. So if your client uses this language, your ears should immediately perk up because it does signify repeated experiences and repetition, but it also offers an opportunity for you to get specific by asking some pointed questions that will lead you to get to a specific that one time when or freeze frame moment. So that being said, if you have one of these words that represent repetition or represent that something has happened many, many times, this means that you're not tapping on just one time. You're tapping on a whole series of events. And like I said before, it's not as effective as getting down to the nitty-gritty and tapping one event at a time. Okay? Another thing that is helpful to be able to do in sessions is to be able to differentiate when you are tapping on a time frame in your client's life and be able to identify this. So what I mean by that is that sometimes clients will offer you a period in their life or a time frame in which they experienced very stressful things, or stressful things were happening to them all the time during this short period of time or a long period of time. So it's important to be able to distinguish when this happens and when you have stumbled into a time frame, because that will lead you to ask more specific questions that can help you get to those specific events within that time frame. So, for example, if your client says something like, when I was 18, I was moving so much and I had no friends. So this is a time period in your client's life starting at the age in which your client was 18. So if you start tapping on this time frame, you're tapping on a multitude of experiences. You're tapping on the tabletop. You're tapping on the photo album. But in asking more specific questions, what you want to arrive at is something like, that one time when I was in high school, I was sitting at the lunch table alone and a bully hit me on the head with a sack lunch. So do you kind of see the difference in specificity? Yes, this moment in time when the bully hit your client on the head with the sack lunch is within that time frame of when they were 18 years old. So being able to differentiate time frame from specific moment is very important. So let's take another example. During my 40s, I went through a divorce. I was constantly stressed and all my hair fell out. So this represents a time frame during your client's 40s. It was very, very stressful. But what you want to arrive at is something like, oh, I remember that one time when I was in the lawyer's office and my ex said, I can't stand you. This is a one-time specific event within that stressful time period. And it's much more effective to tap on this specific event than tapping on, even though during my 40s I went through a divorce, I was stressed and all my hair fell out. Okay? So this then begs the question, well, what are the questions that I can really ask my client that will lead me down this road of specificity? And I have some questions that you can take with you and you can start implementing immediately. And those questions mainly just come from a place of curiosity about what happened. What recently happened? So some things that you can ask are, how do you know that happened? How do you know that was a really stressful time period in your life? What moment stands out for you, or what moments stand out for you when you reflect upon that? What recently happened that supports this? What is one time that really stands out to you? What is one time that you can't really forget about? What evidence do you have that this happened or continues to happen? Is there a moment or an experience you had that informs you that this happened? So as an EFT practitioner, you are really, really looking for evidence. And so your questions can be directed as such. And sometimes clients are really not able to hone in on one specific event. They may say, oh gosh, it happened so many times, I can't just pick one. I really can't pick one. It just happened over and over and over again. And so something that you can do when your client presents in this way, you can simply, play the let's make it up game. And what you instruct your client to do is construct a made up event that encompasses all the standout details from all those experiences. Create this one exemplary event that tells the truest story of what they experienced in all those experiences. Just one event. And as they tell that story, whether it's made up or not, it's a one-time experience. And the subconscious is aware of 95% of things, whether the conscious mind is only conscious of 5%. So the subconscious is taking in all these details all the time. So even if your client is like, wow, I don't even know where this stuff is coming from, I don't even think this actually happened, it doesn't really matter, because as long as there is intensity around it, whether it's emotional or physical or otherwise, that means that clues you in on that you're getting somewhere, even if it is made up. So that's my favorite kind of technique to use when clients are not able to settle in on one event. So you just make up like one classic example of what happened. Okay? So overall, the power of EFT hinges on your ability to get specific and to stay specific in sessions. So let's do a few more examples before we sign off here, for you to kind of start seeing how this interplay between specificity and generality plays out in sessions, and how you can avoid tapping on general issues. So let's say that your client is coming to you and says, well, my job keeps passing me up on a promotion. So instantly you're noticing that the language in which your client is describing this issue in shows you that it's happened more than once, or it's been happening for a long time. My job keeps passing me up, right? And so this is an opportunity to ask 1 to 2 more questions that are going to help you and your client get specific to a one-time event that you can take a Polaroid picture of, that clues you in and supports this photo album of passing me up on a promotion. So you can ask, well, how do you know that keeps happening? How do you know that your job keeps passing you up on promotions? Did something recently happen? Tell me about one time that really stands out to you that supports this idea that your job just won't give you a promotion. And what you eventually want to hone in on is something that sounds like, well, yeah, I remember last week, I was at my desk and I saw my boss. He threw my application for another position in the trash right in front of me, And so that is a specific one-time event that you can take a picture of, and you can fill in the sentence, that one time when. Okay? So I hope that these examples and the client corner helps you get some clarity on specific events. And thank you for tuning into this mentoring moment with Dr. Mo. I'm Dr. Mo, and we will talk and tap soon. Bye.